Happy Friday, my friends. Today I'm going to have a little bit of fun, and I'm going to prove to you why I think that acting makes you more real. I'm going to share my experiences from this week as well as my own perspectives. But the one important takeaway is right here. Before I get into it, I want to ask you, what do you think is the goal of acting? Let me know in the comments here below. Why do you think some actors are regarded as being successful versus others who are not as well known? Well, I think that the primary goal of acting is to make you believe. So the better actors are the ones that are effortless, yet they make you believe in their characters, in the situations, the settings, the period of time that they're portraying, the problems, the conflicts that they're managing. So your credibility is ultimately at stake when you're an actor. But you don't have to be an actor in order for your credibility to be determined based on how you act and how you present yourself. It may be contrary to what you may believe. It may be a paradox, but acting makes you appear more genuine and credible. The more accurately that you can recreate reality, the more credible you will be. That's the one important takeaway that I want you to remember from this live today. Visually, you can look at this very simple diagram again, and you'll notice that facts that are fiction or nonfiction, ideas, your emotions, situations that you're trying to portray, when you act them out, then you recreate real to believe using a real action, and then you take many different opportunities to recreate it better. So you recreate that period of time. As an actor or an actress, you're somewhat of a time machine that captures the audience, that involves them in that same moment. They're able to travel there with you. As opposed to when you just tell or you teach, then you merely share a message and you share real to interpret by others, not to believe. That's the one distinction. That's what makes acting so distinct, so unmistakable. For many years, I always thought that I was genuine, I was self-assured, I had some self-awareness. Over time, self-awareness grows. And I didn't really prepare. I didn't feel the necessity to act at job interviews, for example. And I'll share with you some examples. But there are 5 applications that I want to go over. And I want to have a little bit of fun, as I promised. The first one is our childhood. We all are born with the natural ability to act. We're all actors as children. And we need to revive those talents in our adulthood in order to communicate better in a way that people can remember, can relate, and can react to what it is that we want to convey to them. So you know that when you observe children playing, if you just really notice all the different roles they play, if you take a pause out of your day, you'll be amazed about their ability to act. And look, you don't have to go much further than just reflect on how they're successful or how we were successful when we were children, if we don't have children, at getting our parents to let us go to sleep 1 hour later than before. We would act like we needed to drink tea or have that food that we hated, yet we're going to eat it just so that we could not go to sleep. When I was a child, I used to like to recreate broadcasts of sports matches and soccer and different sports. And I would actually mimic the voice of the famous sportscasters that I liked at the time, as well as some other famous personalities. So I'm going to actually share some of these that I think I have retained over the years. First one is Arnold Schwarzenegger, whom I like to imitate sometimes. My name is Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I'm the governor of California. Or some accents. I speak different languages, so a French accent, for example. I don't go to your IGTV live early in the morning because you don't speak French. And I have to make my croissant early in the morning. Or an Italian accent, for example. Wait, but you, all out to coach, or all about to coach, I don't know, you telling me about acting? I come from Italy, which is the father of cinema. We had the neorealism and neorealist movies in the 1940s and 50s with Pietro Germi, Federico Fellini, Vittorio De Sica, Ettore Scola, and all these directors, and you, all out the coach, telling me about acting? No, you must be kidding. So, look, I don't take myself too seriously. I've never taken an acting class. It may be a good idea for me and for many of us, but the acting is something that we need to revive because it allows us to take someone to that moment, as I mentioned. The second application is a commercial. We know that commercials are essentially an act. They're acts. They're brief acts that have a call to action that allow you to attend that event, tune in, even if it's a time that is too late that, usually you would be sleeping, but it captures you. It allows you to buy products that you wouldn't otherwise buy. But it's because the people conveying those messages in those commercials exaggerate and act out different ideas or facts or products that are believable, that make you believe them. And so I was asked this week to come up with a short video to inspire leaders in my industry to join this new inaugural global mentorship program at the MAP Society, Medical Affairs Professional Society. This is something that I am extremely passionate about. Everyone who knows me knows how much I enjoy coaching. I enjoy mentorship. I volunteer as well as I coach as well. In fact, the executive from this society, when she originally came up with the idea, she offered me to start this mentorship program because she told me that, look, I know how strongly you feel about mentorship based on All Out Coach and on everything you've done in your career. Yet, as I reflect back on this process from this week, I realized that I had to take many different versions of that message, of that commercial, if you will, even though it was something that I felt genuinely about. And so I needed to act. I found myself that I had to act out that genuine interest and passion I have for mentorship. And that's why I want to prove to you that acting makes you appear more real to others. And so I'll give you a snippet from this 2-minute message and many different takes that I had to do. But the reason why I'm sharing it is because I felt that ultimately I reached my audience because I received some positive feedback from the communications and public relations and marketing executive at this organization that emailed me and told me, "You're great at communicating. This is a great example." So I'm not going to pat myself on the back here for this YouTube live, but that positive feedback prompted me to reflect and revisit what had I done well? What had I done during this week as I was rehearsing and trying to record this video and then send it in? And I wanted to share this with you. So here are two different versions of a story that I told based on one of the first mentors that I had early in my career. And you let me know which one you prefer. I'm going to try to show this difference here. Dr. Keith Ferdinand was a mentor early in my career. He was a renowned cardiologist that wrote many books and guidelines on hypertension or blood pressure. And he also taught a clinical elective rotation at Xavier College of Pharmacy, which I attended. This rotation was feared by many at the school because it was considered to be the most challenging of them all. Yet I decided to take it anyway. And even though in the first week I wasn't able to answer many of his questions and cite the references that he was looking for in the studies, the research, by the end of the month, Dr. Ferdinand trusted me enough to check the pulses of his patients' feet. And he introduced me to leaders in my industry who had taken the same career path that I wanted to pursue. And so you can imagine the emotions that I felt when I was given the opportunity to introduce Dr. Ferdinand in my first role as a medical science liaison at AstraZeneca at a large medical education program. So compare that to this version. Dr. Ferdinand had introduced me to many leaders in the industry who had taken the same career path that I wanted to pursue. And as a result, I ended up introducing him as a speaker in my first role as a medical science liaison. In that second version, I'm not acting, even though I feel just as genuinely interested and passionate about mentorship. And that's the one that I would not have chosen, and I didn't. In the other one, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to involve the audience, take them back to that moment, and also adding a little bit of suspense. And that's the version that I went with. Imagine the emotions that I had felt when I was given the opportunity. See, I want to take the audience to have those emotions, to imagine, to be a little bit creative, to travel over time back to that moment. So it took acting, and it took many more takes than I would have otherwise expected. In the beginning, when I was starting this practice session, I found myself very energetic and maybe saying even better things and more creative ways, but I wasn't consistent. I didn't have the pauses down, and I didn't want to cut the video and edit it too much. I wanted it to be smooth from beginning to end. And so what I was also struggling with was the conclusion for many of these takes. Because, look, you're trying to have this call to action to inspire people to join your mentorship program, mentors and mentees, and then you want to show why it is that you are feeling so proud to be able to pay it forward, just like you were in that first opportunity that I was proud of when I introduced Dr. Ferdinand. So here are different versions, again, of the conclusion. I'm truly enthusiastic about the opportunity to pay it forward to the MAP Society because it's a rare lifetime opportunity that holds lifelong potential for all of us. So I invite you, mentors and mentees, to join this journey with me. Good luck. Something to that extent versus something that, a conclusion that doesn't have a pause where you kind of end flat. You want to have somewhat of an inflection. Here is a flat version of the same phrase. I'm very enthusiastic about the opportunity to pay it forward to MAPS because I believe that it's a rare lifetime opportunity that holds lifelong potential. So join this journey with me, mentors and mentees. Good luck. There, I'm not making as much emphasis on the last good luck phrase, right? And so you can continue to improve this. This is not the best version here, but you probably see the difference. So the third point in application is practice, which I already alluded to. See, the more you practice, the more you rehearse prior to a job interview, the more likely you will be to improvise and to make emphasis on different words, on different parts of your message, so that it will be more believable. When I was starting out in my career, again, I felt like I was genuine. I didn't have to prepare much before an interview because I had to get to know them just like they have to get to know me. And I felt like I had a character that was strong, that was deeply rooted in many principles and established lessons. Over time, though, I've realized how important practice is. Even though that very first role that I received as an exception was a success without practice, simply because I was able to answer some fundamental questions correctly, as my hiring manager would tell me later. A question such as, how would you develop a relationship with a Nobel Prize laureate? That I answered like this. I would try to find common ground because I believe that you can find common ground with everyone. And scientific curiosity is what leads me, what drives me in this role. Something to that, something similar to that is what I had responded. But he would later remind me that I had some fundamental principles that I clearly demonstrated, even though I didn't answer one question the way they expected, probably. Besides probably one content-related question that was very challenging, that was scientific, that was not open to interpretation. But when I coach others and when I mentor others and I tell them to prepare for interviews, I always tell them, if you want to land a role, then you have to act for the role. And you have to be the role if you want to just land a job. But you still, right? Whereas if you want to land a job in which you want to stay and succeed for a long time, then be yourself, but act like yourself. So you still have to act. In fact, the better that you rehearse and that you practice, the better it is that you will be able to act and show your true, genuine self and your passion and what you stand for. That brings me to the fourth principle, which is relationships. You don't have to act with everyone around you, particularly with those people with whom you have deep relationships, strong relationships. Your wife, your husband, your best friend. Because they have the benefit of the doubt that they give you if you make a mistake. They'll give you that chance. They'll fill in the dots, even if you don't communicate something that's appropriate to what you feel. But when you are speaking to an audience that's unknown to you, then you can't predict how people will react to the genuine you. Whether it be an employer that's considering you as a candidate. And therefore, you need to practice and you need to act, particularly in those settings in which you don't know your audience and don't know who you're speaking to. Unfortunately for me, probably, and for many, acting is important. And I suggest an improv class, a small acting class for many of us. I haven't taken one, but it's something to consider in order to really connect to a wider audience and to be successful as well in life, in business. And the fifth and the last point is that acting is critical in virtual meetings, in the virtual reality in which we live today. Over all the Zooms or Microsoft Teams or Google meetings that we have, we are connecting with our friends, our colleagues, our relatives over Zoom. And we need to realize and understand that people have to really process our verbal cues. And so we have to become best friends with the camera in front, that camera right there. We have to consider that camera as a person when we speak into it. We have to speak to the camera as if it were someone we want to change their behavior or someone we want to truly listen to us, so that they don't check their phone or their notifications that they're bombarded with. And so acting is particularly important in the kind of world in which we live today that has taught us to improve our skills in acting, use our gestures more, not to assume that people don't see us or our hands. Use them appropriately because they animate ideas, they build connections. Vary our rhythm, use inflection. Don't speak with the same rate all the time, but increase the rate with which you speak and speak a little bit faster at times as needed. Vary the cadence. So these are some of my applications, some of my experiences. And in this Friday Live, I want you to understand and hopefully be convinced that by acting, you're not being more false. Acting can actually make you more real. Let me know what you guys think. I welcome your comments. Have a great weekend ahead. All the best. Tim.